Good morning, everybody. It's July 1st, and whoo, I just finished watching Volume 2 of Stranger Things, Season 4, and what a ride. If you haven't watched it yet, I won't spoil it, but it was really, really good. And I called it on one part of it, but the Duffers subverted a whole lot of my expectations, and hopefully yours. I'm really hoping that, oh man. Okay, first of all, literal heart palpitations, like I should probably go to the hospital. I'm not not feeling completely well right now. Um, I'm sure I can give my head a shake, and I'm just about to eat a nice big greasy breakfast. So, yeah, maybe that'll do something for it. So, the last couple of weeks have been kind of busy. My landlord filed for the eviction, so we'll see how that goes. I do still have time to contest it, and I will, of course. The timing is no mean feat short of spectacular, because I had filed a claim for harassment against her. We went to court, and she kept asking, "Oh, do you have orders yet? Do you have orders yet?" She kept trying to intimidate me, and I know she was just waiting. And then the orders came down. My claim was dismissed without at all looking at their conduct, which really made me angry. And day 30, she decides to come in. Day 30, which is the day that it's too late for me to file an appeal. So, yeah, this is nothing short of just bad practice. Anyway, I can't talk too much about it otherwise, but if anybody's in my area and you want to come over for a cleaning party, please help me save my housing, because otherwise I'm going to be living in my car. Anyway, that's the bad news on my front. On the good news, on the plus side of things, it is July 1st. It is Canada Day. And usually in July, I try to read some Canadian authors. So I got a couple things lined up. And I'm still working on Paperbacks from Hell by Grady Hendrix and the wonderful Trash Fest that is coming, which will be Garp August and August. So I have a couple of plans there. And right now I'm going to review Summer Suns by Lee Mandelo. I'll show you. Look at that cover. Isn't that cool? So you got a hand reaching up for a skeletal kind of buried in the woods kind of quality there. So yeah, right from the start, the cover kind of grabs you. Lee Mandelo is an author working somewhere out of the South, I believe Kentucky. They're also an academic, writer, critic, and they look at queer theory, transmasculinity, and all that kind of fun stuff. And they said that they were interested in writing a book about what it's like to be a young man in the South, grappling with his sexuality. So I'm going to give Summer Suns 4 out of 5 stars. And I'll tell you first what I liked about it. I thought that Mandela is really, really good at creating a mood. There's this wonderful, creepy, visceral Southern Gothic feel about it. Okay, I've never been to the American South, but I would love to go sometime. Partly for the food, but also just for the crazy. There's an episode of Designing Women where Julia says, "In the South, we don't ask if there are crazy people in the family. We ask which side they're on." And the person she's talking to says, "Which side are yours on?" And she said, "Both." So, yeah, there's just something about the South and crazy that seems to go hand in hand. And the scenery, New Orleans, so many interesting things going on there. If you can forgive, well, not forgive, don't ever forgive, but if you can remember the absolutely terrible things that happen on the plantations, and make that part of the history, the blood in the land. I don't know where I was going with that. I would like to visit the American South someday, is what I was kind of trying to say there. I got off on a tangent. So anyway, so the story is about this guy named Andrew, and he shows up at an impound, and his best friend Eddie has just passed away. He's cut his wrists, died, but they had planned to go to grad school. They had plans to do things, and Eddie he was the heir to a rather large estate, so he had a ton of money, which Andrew then inherited, and he had this house, and these guys, when Eddie's parents died, they grew up together, kind of as brothers, but not quite, not, these guys, and this is one of the kind of underlying themes is, are they gay or not? And that was one of the things that Lee Mandelo mentioned in the stuff that I read about the book, that they based the character on one of the roommates that just had not come to terms with his sexuality yet. So these guys haven't really quite figured out what they are to each other. But when people, have been friends for a long, long time, when they've been through pretty much everything together, it's an intimacy that goes beyond even sex and romance, right? And I think that was kind of what the story's getting at. And Andrew spends kind of the first half of the book saying, well, I'm not gay. And then, well, yeah, okay, maybe he is, or maybe just because just these particular people, whatever, I don't know. And then the second part of the story, what I found to be the more interesting part of the story, is that Eddie belongs to a very old, very cursed Southern family. They had owned a plantation, and we get the story of what happened to the family like 3/4 of the way through, or 2/3, more than 2/3 of the way through. And part of Eddie's research that he's doing is what happened, because he's felt cursed his whole life. And when he and Andrew were kids, something really terrible happened to them that sort of marked them for life. And that was another thing that kind of always brought them together. And now Andrew's alone to try and deal with it, to try and figure out what happened to Eddie. And he doesn't believe that Eddie killed himself. So the first part of the story, the main part of the story, is Andrew trying to figure out what happened to Eddie, why it happened the way it did, and what it has to do with the research that he's doing on folklore and ghost stories. And then the second part of the story, and this is where it starts to get a little bit muddled and complicated. Eddie's advisor was a guy named West, and West does not like Eddie's roommate for some reason. That's never really established. And there's another higher up advisor who I believe is the head of the department kind of deal. And she's kind of a terrible person. So you have a third subplot, secondary subplot, which is this kind of academic politics subplot. Now, I give it 4 out of 5 stars because Mandelo's a good writer, and the story, I like the characters. I liked Andrew and Eddie and how doomed they feel. I liked the crazy people that are kind of introduced late in the book. I wish we had met them sooner and spent more time with them. And the part that, this is kind of ironic because I read this for June, which is LGBTQ plus whatever, add as many initials as you want, month. It's Pride Month, and so I always try to find some queer story somewhere to read, but I actually found that the gay story actually dragged down the rest of the story, in my opinion. Now, I feel bad for saying that because it's not because there's anything wrong with a gay coming out story. It's because we spend about a third of the book with these young men, these like good-looking guys looking at each other, staring at each other, driving fast cars, trying to figure out, but it feels like part of a different story. And that's what I think drags it down. And I think that The story would have been much more streamlined and much more interesting, in my opinion, if it had stuck to the mystery of what happened to Eddie's family, because that was the more interesting part of it. And even the academic politics side of it, I mean, you can really tell Mandelo's writing what he knows, right? Because you spend most of your life in academia. Yeah, you're going to write about academia. And nobody cares about academics except academics, unfortunately. I know that's like an evil thing to say, but I spent enough time in higher education to figure that out. That there's a point where if you're not going to go further in academics, you kind of feel like you're stabbing yourself in the eye, and it's time to stop. So, I mean, it's great if that's what you want to do with your life, and that's really cool. But if it's not your thing, then, you know, it's not your thing. So, and Andrew ends up not doing that well. And that was another thing that I found. I was like, this guy's supposed to be a grad student, right? Like, why does he spend all his time getting high and driving fast cars? Like, this is just not the same person. So it had a pretty satisfying ending. I think it was about a third longer than it should have been. And, okay, now, spoiler alert, you can turn this off if you want to right now, but there's a character now the Riley character, I'm pretty sure is a trans man. It's never directly addressed, but they talk about scars and they talk about helping him through stuff and the first time he shaved his head and that kind of stuff, right? Which is cool. But I got a feeling that this character was kind of a stand-in for the author, because Riley spends most of his time sort of guiding people and leading from one side to the other and reacting, and I felt a little bit like they were setting something up that never actually paid off. And here's what I thought was going to pay off. So at the very end, and again, we're at spoilers, so Andrew's in the big bad's study, and there's all these pictures, but they have 2 daughters. And then they talk about the youngest. Oh, the youngest would have been about your age. But they never say what happened to the daughter. Did she die? So I always thought that somehow Riley, you know, was the, you know, dead named as the younger daughter, who never actually gets a name. And that somehow, you know, they were like distant relatives, and then Riley was going to be part of the curse, and then somehow that was going to turn around. But that was just me wishful thinking, I guess, because that would have been kind of funny, or that would have been kind of more interesting. That you can't really escape a curse, or maybe you bring on the curse or something. I don't know. Anyway, but I guess subverting expectations is also another good part of the horror genre. And overall, though, 4 out of 5 stars. It's well written. It's creepy. You got lots of great Southern Gothic atmosphere. You've got the, you know, the crazy old family secrets. You've got the, you know, just the whole setting of the South, and you've got some nice fun stuff at the end, which it does kind of fall into cliche a little bit, but they do a little bit, they take on a little bit more, and they make it a little bit bigger and a little bit better. So Summer Suns by Lee Mandelo. Hope you're reading lots of great horror. Have a great day.